Welcome back to Sylence 13.5. I'm Ashley, and today we're peeling back the layers of a system that has long been looted for its strength but has left a trail of harm in its wake. This episode focuses on so-called tough-on-crime policies, how they came to be, how they shaped our justice system, and why they may be doing more harm than good. Let's start with a critical observation from our previous episode. The tough on crime crusades and policies have created systems that not only punish a person for their crimes they have committed, but also for future crimes they might commit. This idea, the punishment is meted out not just for what you've done, but for what you might do, deserves a closer look. Section 1, the original tough on crime policies. Tough on crime policies gained traction in the United States in the 1970s and 80s during an era of rising crime rates and public fear. Politicians seized the moment, promising harsher sentences, mandatory minimums, and the infamous 3 strikes law. At the time, these measures seemed like the solution of a growing problem. But as with many quick fixes, the unintended consequences soon became apparent. Alright, on to section 2. The consequences of tough on crime policies. Today, we're living with the fallout of decades of tough on crime legislation. Here are just a few of the ways these policies have backfired. 1. Mass incarceration. The United States, at the height of mass incarceration, housed more people in prison than some countries have in their entire populations. Wow. That is insane. Think about that for a moment. More people locked away in U.S. prisons than there are citizens of Iceland or Monaco, I think is how you say that. Even South Carolina, with its prison population, rivaled the total populations of small countries like Barbados or St. Kitts and Nevis, I believe is how you say that. I'm not quite sure. Alright. Number 2. Economic burden. Taxpayers, me and you, are footing the bill for a system that costs billions annually. What's the return on this investment? I don't know any. High recidivism rates and broken communities. That's 2 things. Let's see. Number 3, erosion of hope for those behind bars. The message is clear. You're disposable. Long sentences with no chance for parole strip away any incentive to rehabilitate. Number 4, racial disparities. Tough on crime policies disproportionately impact communities of color. Black and brown individuals are more likely to be arrested, convicted, and sentenced to longer terms. When the scale of incarceration grows so large that it mirrors the population of entire nations, it's no longer just a policy issue. It's a moral crisis. And that's just some. If I did more research, I'm sure I could find a bigger list. So, alright, on to section 3, the false promise of deterrence. One of the selling points of tough on crime policies was deterrence. The logic was simple. Harsher penalties would make people think twice before committing a crime. But study after study after study has shown that this simply isn't true. People don't make decisions based on potential sentences. They act in the moment. In fact, harsh sentences often lead to higher rates of reoffending. Why? Because the system doesn't address the root cause of the crime: poverty, lack of education, addiction, trauma. I mean, there's a list. It goes on and on. But we're going to continue on to section 4. A better way forward. It doesn't have to be this way. Other countries have shown us that there's a better path. Instead of punishing people for what they might do, they focus on rehabilitation and reintegration programs. They invest in education, job training, and mental health care, and the results are clear: lower recidivism rates, healthier communities, and a justice system that actually delivers justice. In our own country, states like New Jersey and California are beginning to roll back mandatory minimums and invest in to incarceration. These changes aren't just good policy, they're moral imperative. I'm sorry. I have a list of notes and it has been a day so far. Anyway, we're going to continue on. Section 6. Call to action. So what can you do? Last week, I asked for stories. Continue sending those. We need stories. Short, long, how it makes you feel that your family is incarcerated for so long with no chance of parole, even if they have showed nothing but growth. So what can you do? Start by asking questions. Why are we spending billions on a system that isn't working? Why are we punishing people for what they might do instead of helping them become who they could be? And most importantly, how can we demand better from our leaders? If you know somebody that might want to share their story, please share this episode with them. Start a conversation. And if you have a story of how tough on crime policies have impacted you or someone you love, reach out to us. Your voice matters. I will listen. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sylence 13.5. Together, we can challenge the system that harm and build the ones that heal. Until next time, this is Ashley, reminding you that silence is the enemy, but together we can fight for peace.